Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Brian if you're new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, you already know the drill. You're beautiful and you know it, and that's what you get for subscribing to the channel. Free compliments at the start of these videos. Now also, if you're new beyond my name, this is a green post. This is what I consider a coffee chat, a discussion style video. So this is just my opinion on several comments that I've seen over the course of the last couple of days, and I just kind of want to weigh in on it just from my thoughts, and especially as it relates to servers, queue times, the returning player base, the player base that's holding off for the fall, obviously the issues and challenges that AGS faces in order to continue to build up New World into what it could be, what its potential that it has within its bones. Now, all that being said, again, this is just my opinion, but it shouldn't just be about my opinion. I love reading your comments, and I also love following these videos up with what I call community feedback, kind of highlighting your comments as well. So feel free to weigh in on anything I'm about to share with you today. But note, this isn't a news post. This isn't anything that Amazon has announced, but this is just something I want to explore as a thought experiment, and that's what we call discussion or coffee chat videos. If you guys are ever curious, you only just want the news or you want guides, news is your yellow posts, guides are blue posts, and I got a couple of other ranges of colors that generally represent what kind of video that you'll be getting. But I felt like it was important to kind of jump in on this topic because I think this is, in a way, a spicy topic without perceiving itself to be a spicy topic. And what I mean by that is typically within content creation, sometimes there's just topics that you know that people have an opinion on, that they're passionate about or they're upset about. I do try to avoid spicy topics whenever necessary, but I do feel this is actually kind of a spicy topic because queue times are important. The player population is always an important discussion, especially around new MMOs. And it's not spice for its sake, but it just has that level of importance because several of you have reached out saying that you cannot log in, you're getting queue times. And I've seen two different takes on queue times. People that are excited to buy them and people who are frustrated by them, especially after the recent server merges. And that's where the crux, the meat, I guess maybe held the potatoes. I am a little bit Irish after all, come into play. And that's what I want to explore with you because it's not all necessarily positive thoughts that I have on this. And that's why I think this might be a little bit of spicy. A little bit of spicy. That's my Italian as well. I'm very Italian. If you didn't know. When it comes down to it, I think that we could be seeing new servers on the horizon, especially if the player base continues to hold. However, and this is the important part, however, I do know that there are people who want a fresh start server. My only real concern here is in cross server play. The fact that we do not have it yet, and we don't have a roadmap until when that will come. Even though the devs have talked about it and they're working on it, I think new servers are best married with cross-server PvP, OPR, hell, even expeditions. And what I mean by that, and this is kind of the real point, this is my real concern, it all kind of boils here together, is that my fear is that we create new servers just to watch them die as the hype dies down. And if you guys don't believe me regarding hype, I know we tend to get a couple doomers here in the comments from here and there, but content is king. Now there's a couple of caveats to that aspect. I think New World actually presents a very unique opportunity, unique gameplay experience. And so when it comes down to it, its content ends up being a real key factor. It does not feel like a clone of any other MMO. So there does have that. It has a hook that keeps you invested and keeps you playing the game or taking breaks and ebbs and flows depending on when you choose to jump in and when you choose to take a break. But what I mean then is that with content being king, we see that within the numbers. We see players return, but hype also has to come along with that in terms of garnering the greater gaming structure. And New World has a lot of work to do in order to continue to invite back kind of that more casual player, the player who has to now overcome lots of negative content creation and videos and word of mouth in order to attempt to try the game. I think they are making progress. New World does have a lot of interesting hooks in it, like obviously with Twitch drops and more. But what I really kind of want to focus in on is that I think that with the Brimstone Sands updates that are coming up this fall, I'm assuming late September, could be early October. That's just my assumption again. I would be perfectly fine if it was October or hell even November, as long as it's ready and it's ready to go and it's just a solid update. But with that, there's the expectation new players will come back. The question is then how do you then hook and hold those players? Because that's where new servers and its structure is going to be the most important factor, right? So spinning up new servers, absolutely, I think will happen. But if they had the cross server functionality, and then if they're able to then present their vision for the next couple of years, like all of those things in my mind coming together at once will make those new servers thrive. They'd make it exciting because there are players who want that fresh start experience, who want a new server where players cannot transfer onto the new servers, where you're starting out fresh. You have that initial land rush and you have that kind of day one experience all over again. And that's something very unique about New World with the various different territory wars and more. And while I've covered several of kind of topics on how to improve those aspects in other videos, like ultimately, like if you just kind of look at what they've promised, what's on the roadmap, that could be really exciting. But the worst part about it is that continuing to fight that fear mongering that ultimately is going to happen, because nobody yet trusts AGS. Now you might trust them, I trust them, but ultimately in the grand scheme of things, like AGS has a lot of work to do to continue to garner that trust. And I believe they're doing it. I think when you look at even Lost Ark, I think if you look at the rumors right now that AGS might be publishing another MMORPG here in the West. And so we'll cover that maybe. I don't know if I'll cover that on this channel itself, because this is a New World focused channel, but maybe I'll cover that on my main Ginger Prime channel later this week. But if it ends up panning out to be true, like rumors, it really is kind of a hard, tricky subject for me, because there's some rumors that really have substantial weight to them, and there's some that is like, well, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. So it doesn't necessarily garner that kind of video, in my opinion. Anyhow, I don't want to waste anybody's time, but this is kind of the point. This is kind of the concern and the hope. Like, I do see new servers being necessary to spin up, especially with Brimstone Sands, the new Great Sword, and more. Like, especially when we start seeing content creators that are massive, Asmongold being a real big fan of this game, also Asmongold loving big, great swords. I could see that kind of partnership. I can see that kind of exposure. I can see that 1 year update showing off all the new features, driving more people back into the game. And like, especially, again, if you have only maybe one server in your data center at the moment and you have a queue, if you've been like playing and you want to play, and then obviously more hype and excitement, but you can't because the queue situation, it does bring back a lot of the frustrations at launch. And those frustrations can then lead to kind of more of like, well, guys, yeah, they've made some really good things, but it's still the same problems with 2000. The other thing, kind of to pivot this into a final thought for y'all, is that if with the new Brimstone Sands, if with all that, I would like to personally see, two things happen outside of cross server. I think cross server play is going to help alleviate a lot of problems with the game, but I do expect there to be new problems introduced with it. So it's not necessarily like the cure-all. I think there's going to be a kind of a growing pains aspect to it. But back to that aspect of Brimstone Sands, returning players. Personally speaking, I think the other thing they can do to kind of help alleviate that, the pressure, the problems going forward, is to also increase the total server capacity of people who are playing in the game. Now that players are more spread out, we have a lot, we have a lot of veteran players, we have new players. Ultimately, and with the new zone, I could see that adding in more players on the specific server could also help alleviate some of that frustration and also communicate that to the wider player base. I wouldn't know if that would be 2,500 or if we would see it actually up itself to 3,000. AGS did state that they do have a roadmap goal of getting it to where, especially as the land masses and world expands, getting the game to 10,000 plus players on one server at one time. And then you couple the fact is that wars are now instance. Who knows what we'll see with the next dev update. I'm very excited about jumping into that with you. I'm maybe thinking next week we'll start to hear whispers of it, but I'll keep you guys up to date on the channel. But all that being said is that beyond just adding in more servers, without crossplay across servers, like those servers have to be incredibly strong. And if you can't transfer and you can only make new characters, that's only going to appeal to a collection of people And I would hate to have like these just brand new dead servers that then get rolled back in at later dates, because I think that would be exciting for players. I think a new server or servers around the 1 year as a reinvitation back to the game. Come back to New World. We've got all this new stuff. You can start fresh if you want to start fresh, or you can continue on your main character if you're returning. And by the way, cross server is a thing, so that for anybody is joining that fresh server, they're not going to feel punished for doing so. They're not going to be ostracized in a way for doing so. And I think that's going to be really key. But then imagine also in the narrative of like, yeah, not only do we have the new content, but also we're increasing the server capacity for the servers that we do have. And I think all of those things being put together would actually make for a pretty significant fall. But that's kind of where this comes in. I don't know if the cross server stuff would be ready. And if it's not ready, would you like to see like the new server spun up? Are you one of those who do want that fresh, brand new starting experience all over again in the game? And if they were going to do something like that, in my mind, it has to be coupled with an event rather than just saying, hey, we just turned on servers, next week or something like that. Because that could, like you want to plan, you want to prep. I mean, that was a part of also the launch. A lot of people planning and prepping and where are we going to go first and things like that. So you'd want that to kind of build up if people were actually interested in it. But I think I've rambled on long enough in this regard. Not on purpose, but these are just some thoughts I had, and I'd love to know yours. Any and all. Do you want to see server capacity increase? Do you want to see new servers spun up? Do you think they're going to wait for the 1 year? Because right now, I mean, all in all, like we're seeing the player count and pretty much hold, while it still has yet to break its last peak of 2,600. Over the course of the weekend, it was just under that. And so it was really exciting to see weekend to weekend with the new Barnacles and Black Sands. Has people with new content to jump in. And we're still waiting obviously on the group finder. That's going to just help. But that's content, ish, as a system, but that's also going to be something that's going to ultimately help out again. And then again, all that being tied into cross server stuff, which they're saying is coming. What's the most important thing? Honestly, these are the questions that I have that are rattling around in my brain. And again, that's just what I want to put down for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this discussion and my thoughts on all that is evolving within the game itself and what we're looking forward to the future. Sorry if you're hitting massive queues. I actually think queue times are a healthy thing. Not massive queue times, but queue times nonetheless. And I stated it, before the game launched, and I stand by it today. One of the biggest features that they would really benefit from is that if your server has a long queue time, they should just let you guest on another world. So you're playing and then it will tell you, hey, your server's ready. Come on home or something like that. Ultimately, we'll have to wait and see. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic week. Hopefully I'll see you this next video. But also, if you guys are also available, be sure to come hang out on Fridays. We're going to do a fishing stream for tournament. It's a tournament fishing stream I'm putting on together. And we're going to hopefully raise some money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So anyway, that's going to be it. I didn't open with that, but it is what it is. Thanks guys for watching, for listening. Hopefully you have a wonderful day. Hopefully I'll see you next time. But until then, take care.
Yeah. It's time to chill out on the couch and read some comments. That's right. You know me when it comes to Destiny. I'm off with a clan, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Oh yeah.